I wish he would disappear soon. Right. When he dies, the money will be ours. This is perfect. It was late at night, and everyone should have been asleep. Unable to fall asleep, I headed to the kitchen for some water when I noticed light seeping from the living room. As I secretly listened in, I could hear Martha and Cicada plotting something. As I continued to listen, I realized they were planning to remove Nathan from this world. Shocked, I quickly returned to my room, knowing I shouldn't be there. So that's what was going on. Having heard them talking directly, I finally understood the meaning behind all the mysterious events that had been happening, and I shuddered. My name is Anna. I'm 45 years old and work as a full-time employee at a company. I have a precious husband named Nathan and a daughter named Cicada. I met Nathan through work. When I had just transferred to a new position, I visited a company for introductions, and Nathan was the one who attended to me. My first impression of Nathan was that he was very refreshing and clean-cut. From his way of speaking, I could tell he was kind, and I secretly thought he was a wonderful man. However, I thought such a wonderful man must already have someone. Reconsidering this, I tried to think of him as just a work associate, but I couldn't. Whether asleep or awake, I couldn't stop thinking about Nathan. I had secretly developed feelings for him. But I couldn't express these feelings. Even while working with Nathan, my heart wouldn't stop racing. Then one day, while living such a life, Nathan invited me out for drinks. From there, our relationship developed rapidly, leading to marriage. After we started dating, I learned that Nathan had also had feelings for me. Just hearing that fact made me incredibly happy. A year after marriage, our daughter Cicada was born, and we spent very happy days together. I thought about what a fortunate person I was to be able to live surrounded by people I loved so much. However, when Cicada was in high school, Nathan had to transfer to New York. After discussing it as a family, Nathan decided to go to New York alone. It was what you'd call a solo transfer. I was worried, but Nathan's family home was in New York. Fortunately, his workplace wasn't far from his family home, so while working in New York, he would live at his family home. Then I can feel at ease. I haven't contacted Mom yet, but I'm sure she'll let me stay. Well, if not, I'll figure something out. Besides, Mom must be lonely living alone now that Dad has passed away. That's true. She's living alone now. Nathan nodded. While your father is away from home, let's do our best together, I said to Cicada, and she looked somewhat relieved. You see, Cicada seemed to not like Nathan very much, perhaps due to her rebellious phase. Nathan himself seemed aware of this, but smiled wryly, saying, "She's at that age. I understand if she's uncomfortable with her father." About 3 years after Nathan went to New York, Cicada graduated from high school and entered a local university. She made many friends in her new environment and seemed to be enjoying every day. Mom. Something interesting happened at university today. Oh really? Tell me about it. Seeing Cicada talk so happily made me happy too. At the same time, I felt a strong desire for Nathan to see Cicada like this. By the way, have you been in touch with your father lately? Dad? No. I don't have anything to talk about with him. I see. Cicada looked puzzled at me as I appeared somewhat dejected. Then one day, I received a phone call from Nathan's mother, Martha. It was rare to get calls from Martha. Feeling uneasy, I quickly answered the phone. Hello? Mother-in-law. Anna. It's been a while. Sorry for calling suddenly. No, not at all. But what's the matter? All of a sudden. When I asked this, Martha told me something utterly shocking. Well, you see. Nathan hasn't been doing well lately. What? It's not so much his physical condition, but rather his head, or mental state. According to Martha, Nathan's condition had been quite strange lately. He had become very forgetful and seemed spaced out most days. Also, he could no longer use electronic devices he used to use regularly, and he couldn't even do simple calculations anymore. I looked into it a bit. I think it might be early onset dementia. The symptoms match. Oh no. Martha had apparently taken Nathan to the hospital just a few days ago. He had undergone tests for dementia, and the results would be out in about a week. She wanted me to be there when they received the results. I opened my schedule to check if I could take time off work. I understand. I'll come. That's a relief. Thank you. She probably couldn't accept the reality that her son might have dementia. And I was worried too, being told that my husband might have dementia. I immediately reported to my company and managed to get a few days off. Both my boss and colleagues were kind, telling me to take my time. That evening, when Cicada came home, I told her about Martha's call, Nathan's condition, and that I needed to go to New York. Then Cicada said, I want to go too. Will university be okay? Yes. Don't worry. Could she be worried about Nathan? Thinking that made me a little happy. A week later, Cicada and I headed to the hospital in New York. We arrived a bit early and thought we'd have to wait, but Martha and Nathan arrived soon after. It's been a while. After exchanging brief greetings with my mother-in-law, I turned to Nathan. Nathan, it's been a while. Nathan apparently didn't remember us. That fact made my chest hurt a bit. I'm Anna. This is Cicada. We're your family. Anna and Cicada. Yes. I remember. Nathan showed his usual gentle smile. I felt relieved, but I thought I saw Martha make a displeased face for a moment. However, when I looked at Martha's face, she was just smiling. Maybe I was imagining things. I turned back to Nathan. Since we hadn't been able to meet often, it had been quite a while since I'd seen Nathan. Seeing Nathan looking somewhat haggard made me increasingly worried. We spent a little time in the waiting room before heading to the examination room. As soon as we sat down, the doctor spoke. Mr. Nathan has early onset dementia. While I largely felt it was as expected, there was also a part of me that didn't want it to be dementia, leaving me with mixed feelings. Afterward, the doctor explained that early onset dementia progresses faster than dementia in elderly people. What would happen to Nathan from now on? All sorts of anxieties welled up inside me. However, I was relieved to hear that his symptoms were still mild enough for him to lead a normal life. We were told it was important to undergo treatment and try to slow the progression as much as possible. It might be good to talk to your workplace and take some time off. I can write a medical certificate if needed. Thank you. Indeed, we should probably explain the situation to his workplace. While I was thinking this, Martha, who was sitting next to me, said something surprising. Don't we need to put him in a facility? What was she saying in front of him? I gently tried to calm Martha. A facility is something to consider later. For now, please observe his condition at home. Even after the doctor said this, Martha seemed somewhat dissatisfied. I understand that taking care of him is difficult, but they just told us he can still lead a normal life. I somehow managed to end the conversation and left the examination room. After finishing the payment, we returned to my mother-in-law's house. Martha was still wearing a disgruntled expression. She had been calm until just recently. I was confused by such a dramatic change. After putting Nathan to bed in his room, we discussed what to do from here. Listen, mother-in-law. It's terrible to talk about facilities in front of Nathan. That's not true at all. I'm the one taking care of him, aren't I? If you don't like the idea of a facility, why don't you come to New York and take care of him yourself? I bit my tongue at Martha's words. I couldn't do that because I had my own work. See, you can't say anything. Just quietly listen to what I say. However, I couldn't agree and could only give ambiguous responses. Martha ignored this and asked me for something. Anna. Could you look into some facilities? But. Don't make me repeat myself. You're staying here for a while longer, right? Find some places before you go back. Seeing Martha talk without any hesitation made me sad. Martha had suddenly changed her attitude after learning Nathan might have dementia. If she really cared about her son, wouldn't she want to support him even with dementia? I understand that Martha is already 70 and it's difficult, but I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling. The next day, I showed Martha the facilities I had researched. How about these? Martha furrowed her brow, still looking displeased. What? What is this? Huh? They're all close to this house. I had expected her to say something about the facility's equipment or staff numbers, but I was surprised that she complained about them being close to home. Isn't it better if they're close? You can get there quickly if something happens to Nathan. If they're close, I can't refuse when I don't feel like going to the facility. I need time alone too. I want you to be grateful that I'm keeping him at home at all. Martha sighed as she said this. Perhaps there was no point in saying anything more to her. At that moment, I glanced at Cicada next to me. Even if Cicada didn't think well of Nathan, surely she would be worried now that her father was sick. Hey, Cicada. Don't you think it's better if the facility is close to home? When I nervously asked, Cicada thought for a moment before speaking. Well, Grandma needs her own time too, so maybe a facility that's a bit far away would be fine. Since that's what Grandma wants. I felt somewhat dismissed by such a response. I was at a loss for words after getting such an answer. See? Cicada says so too. Yes, I suppose so. It would be accurate to say I was disappointed, as I had thought Cicada would be on my side. From then on, I felt like there was a small distance between Cicada and me. That afternoon, after lunch, I invited Nathan for a walk. Hey, Nathan. Want to take a walk together? It's been a while. I'm Anna.
Ah,
Anna. Nathan smiled gently at me, just like when we met at the hospital. A walk? That sounds nice. Let's go. Thank you. I helped Nathan get ready, and we went outside together. New York has so many big buildings and people. I couldn't help but feel excited at the scenery, so different from where I live now. After walking aimlessly for about 20 minutes, Nathan patted my shoulder. Anna. Should we rest at that park over there? I'm tired. Okay. Let's go. I took Nathan's hand and headed to the park. As we sat zoning out on a bench, Nathan patted my shoulder again. Anna. Thank you for coming all the way to New York. Cicada came too. I thought she wouldn't come since she hates me. Huh? Nathan. I was surprised by his completely different demeanor from earlier. He had forgotten our names just a while ago, so he shouldn't remember how Cicada felt about him or that we had come to New York. How? Nathan, do you remember?
ah,
I remember. Hearing Nathan's words made my head even more confused. Is the dementia a lie? No, the diagnosis is real, it's not a lie. I can still somewhat manage work. Well, I can feel I'm reaching my limit though. Then why at home? I'm just exaggerating a bit in front of Mom. I couldn't understand what Nathan was thinking. Why did he need to do such a thing? Why are you doing that? Then Nathan revealed Martha's true nature. Apparently, she had been treating him coldly ever since it was suspected he might have dementia. Also, Martha had started talking about money frequently, and he had caught a glimpse of the word insurance money on her smartphone. You know, watching Mom, I started thinking maybe I should just disappear. If my illness gets worse and I disappear from this world sooner, Mom would get the insurance money and wouldn't have to take care of me, right? Don't say such things. Before I knew it, I had said those words. I understand you're thinking about your mother. But that's wrong, isn't it? Nathan, you're a human being. You shouldn't die for someone else's sake. While I learned about Martha's true nature, I felt sad that Nathan had been driven to consider sacrificing himself. Sorry. I said something strange. Listen, can't you end your work assignment? It seems unreasonable to continue working away from home with your illness. First, we need to do something about this situation. Thinking this, I suggested he end his transfer period. I can't do that. There are various reasons. I'm happy you're worried, but I'm sorry. I said those things earlier, but I feel like Mom would be angry if I stopped bringing in money. I was worried about Nathan's health, but he seemed determined not to give up his work. Promise to contact me right away if anything happens? I'm really worried. Thank you. Sorry for making you worry unnecessarily. Nathan showed a sad smile. While I was still very worried, it wouldn't be good to keep opposing Nathan's decisions. Thinking this, I held back what I wanted to say. After that, we talked a little about what we'd both been up to before heading back. When we got home, Cicada came up to us looking somewhat happy. Isn't that long for just a walk? Where did you go?
ah,
Well, we were just looking around at various things. Nathan didn't react to my words. The next day, Cicada and I returned home. Cicada seemed to be constantly messaging someone, but I didn't pay much attention to it. 6 months later, I was back in New York with Cicada. The reason was that Martha had contacted us. Just come to New York for now. I want to put Nathan in a facility soon. Help me choose one. What did she mean by as soon? I felt somewhat angry at Martha's way of speaking. However, I was worried about Nathan. When I nervously went to my mother-in-law's house, a shocking sight awaited me. Nathan had become much thinner than 6 months ago. His eyes had no light, and he lay in bed without trying to move. There was a wheelchair next to him. He probably couldn't walk by himself anymore. How did this happen? What? Are you saying it's my fault? Now that it's come to this, it's time for a facility. A facility. Hurry up and look for one. Apparently, he had quit his job too. Or rather, it might be more accurate to say Martha had made him quit. Martha had contacted Nathan's workplace and forced him to quit. She wouldn't tell me when this happened, but I guessed it was around the time Nathan became unable to express his own will. At this point, there was no use arguing. I immediately started looking for facilities. I looked for places that were somewhat far from my mother-in-law's house and had a good atmosphere. Based on what Nathan had told me, since my mother-in-law seemed quite fixated on money, I also considered places with lower fees. Then I found one facility that met all these conditions. When I showed it to Martha, she seemed thoroughly pleased. When we immediately contacted the facility to ask about availability and whether we could visit, they said we could visit as soon as tomorrow. They had just one room available, and if we wanted it, now was our only chance. When I shared this information, Martha's expression brightened visibly. Tomorrow. Let's go tomorrow right away. Looking at Nathan's condition and thinking about Martha, was putting him in a facility our only option? If only I could have done something more. Thinking this made me terribly frustrated. One thing that bothered me since coming to my mother-in-law's house was that Cicada didn't seem surprised at all by Nathan's condition. Even though he had clearly changed compared to 6 months ago. Perhaps she had prepared herself for this? No matter how much I thought about it, I couldn't find an answer. That night, I couldn't fall asleep and got out of bed to get some water from the kitchen. It was 2 a.m. Thinking everyone was asleep, I quietly headed to the kitchen. But something seemed off. Light was seeping from the living room. Who could be up at this hour when we were supposed to visit the facility tomorrow? I quietly put my ear to the living room door and heard voices. They were unmistakable, the voices of Cicada and Martha. I wish he would disappear soon. Right. When he dies, the money will be ours. This is perfect. As I listened secretly, I could hear Martha and Cicada plotting something. As I continued to listen, I realized they were planning to remove Nathan from this world. While the content was shocking, something suddenly clicked into place. Nathan's deterioration over 6 months, Martha's obsession with money, and Cicada's lack of surprise at Nathan's condition. Martha and Cicada were trying to get rid of Nathan. Cicada must have been approached by Martha when Nathan and I were out walking 6 months ago. Since then, she had probably been in contact with Martha and kept tabs on Nathan's condition. Martha had weakened Nathan by keeping him confined to the house, which resulted in him quitting his job. I forgot about getting water and quietly returned to my room. So that's what was going on. I never imagined they would try to commit such a crime. In the end, I couldn't sleep that night as their plan kept spinning around in my head. I kept thinking about how I could stop their plan. The next day, rubbing my sleepy eyes, I drove to the facility. When we arrived, a kind-looking staff member greeted us. Led by the staff member, we toured the facility. Like the photos posted online, all the rooms and equipment were clean, and all the staff were kind. Maybe we could trust this place. Hey! This place. This is perfect. Yes. Let's hurry up and make the contract. However, was it really okay to put Nathan in a facility like this? Such thoughts kept swirling in my mind. Afterward, we were shown to another room for the contract. We sat on the sofa, waiting for the staff member to return with the paperwork and other preparations. Martha and Cicada were chatting happily, but I didn't join in. It felt uncomfortable. Thinking this, I went to the lobby. There, while fiddling with my smartphone, I thought about Nathan. Since I couldn't communicate with Nathan, I didn't know what he was thinking. As I was groaning in the lobby, the staff member from earlier came to me. Excuse me, are you Nathan's wife? Do you have a moment? Yes. Led by the staff member, I was taken to a room on the opposite side from where Martha and Cicada were. As soon as the door was closed and we sat on the sofa, the staff member said to me, "You need to get out of here right now." What? I couldn't help but let out a startled cry at the sudden statement. What do you mean? Something seems off about Martha and Cicada. Apparently, when the staff member returned to the room and was explaining the contract to them, Martha kept asking questionable things like, if he dies in the facility, will we get the insurance money, and what kind of medications do you use? Questions with unclear intentions. Martha and Cicada were plotting something. The staff member felt it wouldn't be good to accept Nathan into the facility under these circumstances. Of course, if you choose our facility, we'll take the utmost care. However, if possible, I think you should distance yourself from them, especially Martha. Actually, hearing this, I shared my concerns about them, including overhearing Martha's plan to kill Nathan the night before, and how I thought they were planning something. Upon hearing this, the staff member immediately said, "You should probably consult the police." Indeed, that was true. They had been talking about medication too, so there might be evidence. I understand. I'll try to find some evidence today and go to the police. We'll cooperate if anything comes up. Those words from the staff member gave me courage. That day, I somehow managed to get them to abandon the contract, and we returned home. During the car ride, Martha and Cicada were complaining. That night, thankfully Martha and Cicada were sound asleep, so I secretly searched the house. To my shock, I found a large quantity of sleeping pills, plans to kill Nathan, and papers detailing how to split the insurance money. I had to go to the police immediately. Still in my pajamas, I went outside and headed to the police station. The police officer listened carefully to my story as I rushed in, out of breath. While I hadn't read the plan in detail, when the police officer and I carefully read through it, even the officer was taken aback by the horrific plans written there. The next morning, police officers came to my mother-in-law's house early, and Martha and Cicada were taken to the police station for voluntary questioning. As they left the house, Martha and Cicada shouted things like, "Oh, we were so close. This is ridiculous, and I hate you, Mom. You were trying to keep the insurance money all to yourself, weren't you?" Even at this point, they still cared about money. While I could somewhat understand Martha, I was shocked that Cicada, who had been so kind, would turn to crime. I never expected that. Afterward, Martha and Cicada were found guilty based on the written plans, stored medications, and testimony from the attending physician. Cicada dropped out of university after this. Although she received a suspended sentence and wasn't in prison, I stopped contacting them after this incident, so I don't know how they're living now. Cicada herself said she wanted to stay in New York and never returned here. Meanwhile, Nathan came back with me and entered a facility that had an opening nearby. He gradually became brighter than when he was in New York, and it seemed the progression of his illness was slowing down. "Oh, you came today too?" "Anna." "Yes, I came today too. I make sure to visit his facility after work every day. Nathan seems to remember me, and he always smiles when he sees my face. I wonder how long this life will continue. While I honestly want to live together at home soon, waiting until Nathan's condition stabilizes is the best course of action. Today too, I visit the facility, hoping for Nathan's recovery.